for like over 20 years, and all the water systems are from the 70s. That's why when it rains pretty bad, it floods everywhere.
I think we're on YouTube as an American group.
Yes.
Any of you do your research on Athens before you came here?
Yes, a little bit.
I read the suggestion.
Right? Any of you know what the population of Athens is today?
No.
No.
They say it's 4.5 to 5 million. Well, that's the internet will tell you. You speak to Greek people, they tell you it's 6-7 million. Taxi drivers are now telling me it's over 9 million, and I say we've no idea. Okay? It has been 8 years since there's been a census in Greece. Right? 8 years is a very long time to not know how many people are here, and I'm sure you guys know, especially how many immigrants and refugees we still have coming into the place. What is interesting about the population of Athens, though, is what it was in 1830. So 1830 ties in with the Lord Byron, the statue, Independence War, Ottoman occupation. Any of you guess or know what the population of Athens was in 1830?
500,000.
That's a good starting guess, but even less. It was a village, and it was not the capital of Greece. Get your coffee, a tea, or a beer if you get it right.
100,000.
Very good guess. No, even less so.
200. 200.
4,000, right? 4,000 people were in Athens in 1830. Now you're over 6 million, and it's less than 200 years, okay? There's been two massive jumps in population. One came 1 year after the Independence War, but the biggest one came after World War II. So that ended here in 1944. There was a 5-year civil war, communism against democracy. When that ended in 1949, the population blew up. It pretty much quadrupled overnight. And that is actually where the majority of the ugly buildings come from, because they had to be built in a hurry to house the population. But 1831, Greece gets its independence. For 1 year, a Greek man is in charge of this country. He then decided he was bringing in taxes for everything. The Greeks didn't want to pay them, so they assassinated him. After that happened, the three great powers at the time, which was England, France, and Russia, they got together with the Rothschilds Bank, and they said, we need a king of Greece, but we need him not to be Greek. We need to try to rule these people. So they followed the bloodline. Are you all aware of the Queen of England today?
Yes.
You know anything about her husband?
No. He's passed away.
No, he's still alive. He's Greek. He was born here. His father was king of Greece at one time, and he's actually sixth in line to be king of this country. How many of you know that we still have a king and queen of Greece? Yeah, they haven't been here for over 11 years. They got out right before the crisis. They live in London and in Paris. But in 1833, after 2 years of searching, they were still unable to find anybody who wanted to become king of Greece, until they eventually ended up in a place called Bavaria with a man named King Ludwig, who's the father of the crazy Ludwig, built all the nice castles. His son is the one who drowned in the puddle, but they're not crazy enough to become king of this country. So what Ludwig actually said is, you may take my youngest son. So at 16 years of age, Otto became the first king of Greece. 1 year later, he married Emilia, both of them 17, and they're now king and queen of an entire country. They had a 30-year monarchy. I consider it highly successful, but I'm probably the only person in the country who thinks like that. The Greeks, they never liked him, right? She was Protestant, he was Catholic. What religion do we have here?
Orthodox.
Greek Orthodox. What the Greeks actually said about the king is he was neither fearsome enough to be feared nor lovable enough to be loved, which is quite harsh. And what they said about the queen is that she wore the pants, she was the king, she made all the decisions, and that's why they tried to kill her twice. Second time they tried to kill her was actually the end of the monarchy. They wounded her quite deeply. The Greeks took over parliament, and they never had any children. However, he made Athens the capital of Greece. And if you know, it was the capital before Athens.
Olympus.
Once upon a time it was. A place called Nafplio. Any of you heard of it?
No.
Very common. So if it wasn't for the king and the queen, you may all now be in a city you've never heard of, speaking about ancient Athens. And the queen, she planted all the gardens that you see, pretty much all of them all over the city. This one in particular, there's two things about this, and they're tying with the Olympic Games. So 1896, the first modern day Olympics, this was where the athletes lived and where they trained. That building over there that you'll be going into was the headquarters of the first Olympic Games, and go back 2,700 years, 700 BC until 300 AD for the original Olympics. They were taking part all along here as well. It wasn't the main section. The main section was a mountain called Olympia, but some of them were taking part here. So, keep going.